My name is Ava Thompson and I am 35 years old. Before I take you into the deep part of what happened, let me first welcome everyone watching. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I love seeing people from Canada, the United States, and all over join in. Now let me introduce the people in this story before everything gets wild. There is Grandma Eleanor, the strong and loving head of our family. She lives in Michigan and always carries her warm smile. Except on the day everything changed. There is my mom, Patricia, soft-spoken but brave. She believes kindness is the biggest gift a person can give. There is Uncle Mark, my mom's younger brother, who sometimes makes mistakes, but has a kind heart hiding behind all his troubles. And of course there is me, Ava, the one telling this story. Now let me take you straight into the highest and most shocking moment of the entire story. Not the beginning yet. No, this part happened many years after the story starts. It was the moment that made everyone freeze, the moment that made Grandma's heart break and surprise all of us. I remember stepping out of a yellow taxi in front of Grandma's house. The sun was bright, neighbors were outside chatting, and the wind smelled like fresh rain. I pulled my old travel bag from the back seat, ready to join the family reunion. As soon as Grandma saw me, her smile disappeared. Her eyebrows lifted. Her lips trembled, and her voice wavered when she asked, sadly and confused, "Ava, why will you arrive here in a taxi? What happened to the luxury car we presented to you on your 32nd birthday?" Everyone froze. Everyone stared at me. I felt the weight of their confusion sink into my chest. My mom stepped forward before I could answer. She smiled softly and said, "Mom, her brother needed it more." Gasps filled the yard. All eyes swung back to me. Why would I give away a luxury car? Why didn't I say anything? What was I hiding? But the biggest shock came next. Grandma took a slow step toward me. At first her face was blank, just empty sadness and surprise. Then her hand slowly reached into her coat pocket. And in front of the entire family, Grandma did an amazing thing that no one expected. But I can't tell you what it was. Not yet. Because for you to understand how shocking her reaction was, you must know how the story began. So let me take you back to 3 years before that reunion, back when everything started. Back when kindness was simple. Back when we didn't know what life was preparing us for. This is the story of family, choices, love, empathy. And one moment that changed everything. I was 32 then, living in Toronto and trying to grow my small event planning business. Life was not easy, but I always believed that kindness came back around. My mom taught me that. She said, "Ava, the world is full of storms. But if you learn to be someone else's umbrella, the clouds will open for you too." One morning I was at home preparing for a meeting when I got a message from Grandma. She wanted the whole family to come to her home in the United States for a special birthday celebration. I didn't think much of it. Grandma loved surprises. When I arrived, the house was glowing with lights, laughter, and the smell of Grandma's famous apple pie. She hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. Uncle Mark was there too, smiling in a way that showed he was trying to hide the stress he carried. After dinner, Grandma asked everyone to gather outside. She told me to close my eyes. When I opened them, I saw something that made me freeze. A brand new luxury car. Silver. Shiny. Beautiful. Covered my mouth. Could barely speak. Everyone clapped. Grandma cried happy tears. Mom whispered, "You deserve something good, sweetheart." I felt loved in a way I couldn't explain. But what I didn't know was that this gift, this car, would start a chain of events none of us expected. It would test my heart. It would test my family. It would even test Grandma's long-held beliefs about right and wrong. And it all began with what happened the very next week. I was driving home late in the afternoon when my phone rang. It was a call that would change everything. It was Uncle Mark. He sounded scared. His voice shook. Something had gone terribly wrong. "Park the car." My hands were shaking as I answered. "Uncle Mark, what's happening?" There was silence. Then a sigh. Then words that made my heart drop. But before I tell you what he said, You need to understand that every family has a moment when one person's kindness becomes a secret test. One that can change the whole future. And the moment he spoke those words, my test began. That is where the less extreme part leads us. Me sitting in my car, holding my phone, wondering what I was about to hear. But the next moment, the moment I did hear it, was the first extreme turn of the story. The moment everything began to change. He finally spoke. And his words hit me like cold water. Ava, I need your help. I'm in trouble. And it's about the car. That is where chapter 1 ends. Right on the edge of everything collapsing. For everyone just joining, welcome again. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing people from all across Canada and the United States tuning in. Now let's continue the story from exactly where we stopped. I sat there in my parked car, the new luxury car Grandma had gifted me, holding my phone so tightly my fingers hurt. Uncle Mark's voice trembled on the other end of the line. Ava, I need your help. I'm in trouble. And it's about the car. My breath caught in my throat. What do you mean? I whispered. There was a long pause. Shaky sigh. Then he said, I'm not talking on the phone. Can you come? My heart raced. Even though I didn't know what was happening, I knew Uncle Mark wasn't the type to ask for help unless things were really bad. So I turned the car around and drove to his apartment on the west side of Toronto, a small place he could barely afford. When I arrived, I saw him sitting on the curb outside, his shoulders shaking. He looked older than his age, tired, and worn out like life had been pulling at him for far too long. This was the less extreme moment as things seemed calm on the outside, but I could feel the storm brewing just beneath it. I walked toward him slowly. Uncle Mark, what happened? I asked softly. He looked up at me, eyes red, and for a moment he couldn't speak. I sat down beside him, waiting, letting him gather himself. Finally, he whispered, I messed up, Ava. I didn't speak. I let him continue. There was this job. This man who promised to help me get back on my feet. I trusted him. He shook his head. But he lied. And now I owe money I don't have. They want something valuable, something fast. I told them I had nothing. But they didn't believe me. He paused. That's when my stomach twisted. Uncle Mark. What does that have to do with my car? He slowly lifted his eyes to mine, filled with shame. I told them I had access to one. Yours. My heart dropped. He wasn't saying what I thought he was saying. No, he couldn't be. But he was. I need to borrow it, he whispered. Just for a while. Fix this. Please, Ava. I stared at him. My chest felt tight. Inside me, two voices began to argue. One said he made his own mistakes. The other said, but he's family. And hovering above everything was my mom's voice teaching me kindness all my life. But kindness without wisdom could destroy a person. I knew that too. I closed my eyes for a long moment and breathed. Why didn't you go to Grandma or Mom? I asked quietly. Because I'm tired of disappointing everyone, he whispered. I thought I could handle this. I thought I had one last chance. Please, if I lose this deal, things will get worse. His voice cracked. And I don't want Grandma to know. That was the line that hit me hardest. He wasn't trying to use me. He was trying to protect her from him. I felt my eyes sting. This was one of those moments where kindness could save someone or break everything. But I couldn't turn away. So I gave him the key. Just bring it back soon, I said softly. And promise me you're not doing anything dangerous. He nodded quickly and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. He kept saying, Thank you, Ava. Thank you. As I walked away, I didn't know what I had started. I didn't know how deep his situation really was. And I didn't know that this small act, this moment of soft kindness, would grow into a giant storm that would follow me for 3 entire years. I didn't see him for a week. He didn't answer calls. He didn't reply to messages. I started to worry, but I kept telling myself he was sorting things out. Then one night around 2 a.m. my doorbell rang. I opened the door and found him standing there, drenched in rain, shaking, not from cold but from fear. This was the extreme event that would end chapter 2. He pushed the car keys into my hand, but they were dirty. Crash. Something wasn't right. Uncle Mark, what happened? He swallowed. Ava. I tried to fix my mistake. I really did. But something went wrong. Something bad. And now they're looking for the car. And they might be looking for you too. My heart pounded. What? Why? He looked over his shoulder as if someone was following him. Then he whispered words that made my whole world spin. Because they think I hid something valuable inside the car, but I didn't. And now they want it back. My mouth fell open. My hands shook. This wasn't simple trouble anymore. This was danger. Real danger. And it had now fallen directly in my lap. That is where chapter 2 ends. Right at the heavy drop of the next unfolding disaster. If you're just joining in, welcome. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing people from Canada, the United States, and everywhere else tuning in. Now let's continue our story exactly where we stopped. Uncle Mark stood in my doorway at 2 a.m., rain dripping from his jacket, fear clinging to him like a shadow he couldn't shake off. He had just told me something that made my stomach twist into a tight knot. They think I hid something valuable inside the car, but I didn't. And now they want it back. For a moment, everything went silent. The world outside was dark, but the darkness inside his eyes was deeper, heavier. Who are they? I whispered. He shook his head fast. People you don't want to meet, Ava. People who make small mistakes turn into big nightmares. I swallowed hard. What did you get into? He looked at the floor, too ashamed to look at me. I trusted the wrong person. I thought I found a job. But it wasn't a job, it was a trap. And when things fell apart, they blamed me for losing something they were expecting to receive. And they think it's in the car. Yes. Yes. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to stay calm. This was the less extreme part of the moment, the part where confusion wrapped around me like fog, but the danger had not fully revealed itself yet. Okay, I said quietly. Let's check the car. We walked outside together. The rain was falling harder now, tapping sharply on the hood of the car. I unlocked the door and we searched everywhere. The seats, the trunk, under the carpet, every pocket, every compartment. Nothing. There was absolutely nothing valuable or strange inside. I looked at Uncle Mark. There's nothing here, I said. I know, he whispered. But they won't believe that. He sank onto the sidewalk and held his head in his hands. He looked like a man drowning on dry land. Uncle Mark, we'll figure this out, I said, kneeling beside him. We'll go to the police. No, he shouted, grabbing my wrist. If I do that, they'll think I snitched. It'll get worse. I felt a chill run down my spine. How worse? He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. I didn't sleep that night. I let him lie on my couch, wrapped in a blanket, while I stayed awake trying to think of a way out. He was family. He made mistakes, yes, but he wasn't evil. And kindness wasn't just something you gave when it was easy. My mom always said kindness mattered most when it cost you something. By morning he was gone. He left nothing but a note. Ava, thank you for trying. I won't drag you into this anymore. I'll handle it alone. My heart squeezed painfully. I knew he wasn't safe. And now I didn't even know where he was. Days turned into weeks. He didn't call. I kept the luxury car parked in my garage, locked away, afraid someone might come looking for it. I didn't tell Grandma. I didn't tell Mom. I carried the fear alone. Life continued, but there was always a shadow behind me, a quiet fear that made me look over my shoulder every time I stepped outside. But one afternoon, 3 months later, the fear stopped whispering and started roaring. It was the extreme event of Chapter 3, the event that made my knees nearly buckle. I had just finished shopping for groceries. I pushed the cart across the parking lot, heading straight to my car. As I reached for the door handle, someone touched my shoulder. Turned. Tall man stood there. Dark jacket. Cold eyes. No smile. No warmth. Nice car, he said quietly. My chest tightened. Thank you. You're Ava, right? My heart dropped. How do you know my name? He stepped closer, too close. His presence felt heavy, like a dark cloud blocking out the sun. We've been looking for you. I took a step back. Who is we? He smiled, but not the kind of smile that made you feel safe. The kind that made your fear grow wings. The people your uncle owes. My breath vanished. I don't know anything, I whispered. Oh, I think you do, he said softly. We need what's inside the car. And we need it now. There's nothing in the car, I said, shaking. His smile disappeared. Don't lie to me. Just then, another man stepped out from behind a nearby truck. He folded his arms and stared at me as if judging whether I was telling the truth or wasting their time. Open it, the first man said. My hands trembled as I unlocked the car. They searched it the same way I had, with speed and precision. They found nothing. The first man closed the trunk slowly, then looked straight into my eyes. If you're hiding it, if your uncle hid it with you, you're both making things worse. I'm not hiding anything, cried. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, if we don't get what we're looking for soon, people will get hurt. People you care about. Froze. He walked away, the other man following him. They didn't look back. I stood there in the parking lot, shaking from head to toe. My heart thundered in my chest. The world felt like it had tilted sideways. The danger was no longer just chasing Uncle Mark. It had found me. When I stepped into my car, my hands could barely grip the steering wheel. Tears blurred my vision as I started the engine and drove away, terrified, confused, and unsure of what to do next. But before the day ended, something even bigger happened. Something I never saw coming. That evening, as I sat on my couch trying to calm my shaking hands, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. There was only one sentence. A sentence that exploded everything inside me. We have your uncle. That is where chapter 3 ends. Right at the point where everything takes a sharp, terrifying turn. Welcome back, everyone. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing all my viewers across Canada, the United States, and everywhere else following this story. Now let's pick up exactly where we stopped. The message sat on my phone screen, glowing like a warning light in the dark. We have your uncle. My hands turned cold. My breath came out in small, broken pieces. I stared at the words, hoping they would disappear, but they didn't. They stayed. Sharp. Real. Heavy. I tried calling the number. It didn't ring. It didn't even beep. Just a blank, dead click. I tried again. Nothing. I felt my heart slam against my ribs. The room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were closing in on me. My uncle, who had been running, hiding, trying to fix his mistake, was now in the hands of people who didn't play games. This was the less extreme moment, the moment right before the storm broke open fully. The fear was rising, but the worst had not shown its face yet. I sat down slowly on the couch, gripping my phone, trying not to cry. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know if calling anyone would put them in danger. I didn't know what these people wanted anymore. The car. Something inside the car. Something Uncle Mark accidentally got mixed up in. I didn't know. And then, the phone buzzed again. Another message. Another unknown number. This time it said, if you want him alive, bring the car. Do not tell anyone. Wait for instructions. My heart stopped. Alive. They were threatening his life. I covered my mouth and tried to breathe, but my lungs felt like they were tied in knots. My thoughts spun wildly. How could I give them the car when I didn't know what they were looking for? I had already searched it. Police weren't an option. Uncle Mark said getting them involved would make things worse. My whole body shook with fear and helplessness. But then something happened, something I didn't expect. As I sat there, my phone buzzed again. But this time it wasn't a threat. It was a name I knew well. Grandma. She was calling me on video. I swallowed hard and pressed answer, trying to look normal even though I felt like my life was falling apart. Grandma's warm smile filled the screen. Ava, sweetheart. How are you? Froze. My throat tightened. I couldn't tell her. I couldn't drag her into this nightmare. I'm okay, Grandma, I forced out. Just busy. She nodded happily and started talking about the family reunion she was planning for the next year. She said she wanted everyone together, no excuses. She didn't know her son was in danger. She didn't know her granddaughter was being watched by criminals. She didn't know her family was hanging on a thin, cracking string. As she talked, my eyes filled with tears. I couldn't stop. But I kept smiling. I didn't want to scare her. Before she ended the call, she said something that hit my heart deeply. Ava, remember this. When life becomes confusing, do not let fear make your choices for you. Fear lies. Love doesn't. I nodded, swallowing hard. Thank you, Grandma, I whispered. When the call ended, I wiped my tears. I had to save Uncle Mark. I didn't know how. I didn't know what the men were searching for. I didn't know if giving them the car would end the danger or make it worse. But I knew one thing. I wasn't letting my uncle die. Hours passed. The sun went down. The world outside grew quiet. I waited for the next instruction, my heart in my throat. Then at 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Another message. Drive the car to the old shipping yard by the lake. Come alone. My stomach twisted. The shipping yard was abandoned. No lights, no cameras, no people. It was the last place you would want to meet dangerous strangers. But I had no choice. I grabbed my keys, locked my apartment, walked to the garage with my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it echo inside my head. I got into the luxury car. The same one that had once felt like a blessing. Now it felt like a doorway into something dark. I started the engine and drove into the night. The roads were empty. Trees swayed in the wind. The moon hung low, casting long shadows. As I approached the shipping yard, the air grew colder. The headlights cut through the darkness, revealing rusted containers, broken fences, and empty space. Then suddenly, a bright flashlight shone directly at my windshield. Gasp! A man stepped out from behind a container. The same man from the grocery store parking lot. His eyes were sharp, unreadable. He motioned for me to stop. Park slowly. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely keep them on the steering wheel. He walked toward my window and tapped it with 2 fingers. Get out, he said. I did. He circled the car once, studying it like a hawk. Then he opened the door and signaled another man to join him. They tore through the car again, searching, pulling, twisting, ripping. Carpets. Panels. Still nothing. I stood there, frozen, hugging myself against the cold. Finally, the man tossed a ripped seat cover to the ground and looked at me with frustration burning in his eyes. Where is it? I don't know what you're talking about, cried. He stepped closer and for a second I thought he might hit me. But then, a loud scream echoed across the shipping yard. A scream I recognized. My uncle's scream. I spun around toward the sound, my heart slamming inside my chest. He was here. He was close. The man grabbed my arm before I could move. Do not run, he said. But it was too late. Fear took over. Love took over. I yanked my arm free and ran toward the scream. Uncle Mark! Shouted. My voice echoed across the dark yard. Behind me, the men yelled, boots pounding the ground as they chased me. I didn't know where I was running. I didn't know what I would find. I didn't know if I would survive this. All I knew was, I had to reach him. Welcome back, everyone. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Viewers from Canada and the United States, I see you and appreciate you so much. Now, let's finish our story. This is the final chapter, and everything you've been waiting for is about to unfold. I ran through the dark shipping yard, my heart pounding so hard the sound filled my ears. Metal containers towered around me like giant walls. My breath came out sharp and shallow as I chased the sound of my uncle's scream. Uncle Mark! I yelled again. The wind carried my voice away, but I kept running. Behind me, the men shouted. Stop her! Don't let her get away! Boots pounded on the gravel. Flashlights swung wildly as they chased me through the maze of containers. I felt like a small bird being hunted by wolves. This was the moment when everything, every fear, every act of kindness, every mistake, crashed together. I turned a corner, slipped on wet gravel, and almost fell, but I caught myself on a rusted metal beam. The scream came again, closer, sharper, more desperate. "Mark!" cried. Then finally I saw him. He was tied to a metal pole between two containers, hands bound, face bruised, shirt torn. He looked weak, exhausted, and ashamed. "Uncle Mark!" I screamed, running to him. He looked up, eyes wide with panic. "Ava, oh, you shouldn't be here." But it was too late. The moment I reached him, strong hands grabbed my arms from behind. I gasped as they pulled me back. The leader stepped in front of me, face hard, jaw tight. "You shouldn't have run," he said quietly. "We don't like chasing people." I struggled, trying to free myself, but his men held me tight. I could feel their fingers biting into my arms. "Let her go," Uncle Mark shouted. "She knows nothing. It's me you want, not her." The leader glared at him. "We want what belonged to us. And you're running out of time." "I don't have it," Uncle Mark cried. "I told you I never got anything. I didn't take anything from you." The man turned to me and stared into my eyes, searching for any lie. "Ava," he said, "the car Grandma gave you, something important was hidden inside it. Something that belonged to us. Your uncle was supposed to deliver it. He didn't." My voice shook. "There was nothing inside. We checked." "You checked." The leader inhaled sharply and turned to one of his men. "Bring the box." My heart stopped. "Box? What box?" One of the men walked toward an abandoned crate outside one of the shipping containers. He reached behind it and pulled out a small black metal box. My entire world froze. I had never seen it before. "This," the leader said, lifting it, "was found taped under the back bumper of the car." My breath hitched. Under the bumper. We never checked under the car. He handed the box to me. My hands trembled so hard I almost dropped it. "Open it," he commanded. My fingers shook as I clicked the small latch and lifted the lid. Inside were stacks of small computer chips wrapped in plastic. I didn't know what they were, but I knew they weren't normal. Whatever they were exactly what these men were willing to hurt people to get. My voice cracked. I didn't know. I swear." "I know," the leader said. "But your uncle should have told us the truth from the beginning." Uncle Mark shook his head fiercely. "I didn't know about the box. Someone must have." But the leader cut him off with a raised hand. "We have what we came for." He stepped closer to me. "You and your uncle will not be bothered again. But if we ever hear you spoke about this to anyone, things will not end peacefully." I swallowed, heart hammering against my ribs. "We won't say a word." The man studied me for a long second, then nodded to his men. They let me go. They cut Uncle Mark's ropes. And just like that, they disappeared into the darkness. Fast, silent, like they were never there. For a long moment, everything was silent except for the wind. I dropped to my knees beside Uncle Mark. He leaned against me weakly. "Oh, Ava. I'm so sorry," he whispered. I held him tightly. "We're alive. That's all that matters." We stayed there for a few minutes, breathing, shaking, trying not to break down. Eventually, we slowly got up and made our way back to the car. It was ripped apart, torn open, everything taken out and thrown around. It barely looked like the gift Grandma once gave me. The drive home was quiet. Uncle Mark stared out the window, ashamed. I kept my eyes on the road, thinking about how close we came to losing everything. Months passed after that night. Uncle Mark got help, found a small job, and worked day and night to rebuild his life. We never spoke about the box again. And then, finally, the day of the family reunion came. That day, the day from the title of the story. Everyone was outside Grandma's house, laughing and chatting as I stepped out of a taxi. Grandma's eyes widened when she saw the taxi door open. She walked toward me, frowning, confused and sad. Then she said the words exactly as they happened. "Why will you arrive here in a taxi? What happened with the luxury car we presented to you on your 32nd year birthday?" Everyone turned to stare at me. They didn't know the danger. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know what the car had caused. Before I could speak, my mom placed a gentle hand on Grandma's arm and said with a soft smile, "Mom, her brother needed it more." Grandma's eyes softened. Everyone looked at me. And then, Grandma did something no one expected. She stepped close, hugged me, and whispered in my ear, "I don't know what happened, sweetheart, but I can see it in your eyes. You went through something. And you survived it. That's all that matters." Froze. She didn't know the details. She didn't know the danger. But she felt everything. Grandma had always been wise like that. Then she pulled back, reached into her bag, and handed me a small set of keys. "Here," she said, smiling. "A new car. Not because of the old one. But because you deserve good things, even after walking through storms." Cried. Not because of the car. But because love, real family love, is louder than fear. And that's how everything finally came full circle. The danger ended. The secrets faded. And our family healed. Thank you so much for listening to this story. Was it nice? Please subscribe to my channel and thank you for watching.